Okay, the last video we ended up getting started with some styling. We also added some custom fields in our admin area under the landing page. So let me close this. Where those fields are located are on our home page, which is our front page, and those are actually going to be right there. We created those by installing the custom fields plugin or advanced custom fields and created a field group, and this specific one is called landing page header. So I'm going to create a new group per section of this page. So this one in particular corresponds to this header, and then we'll go down the page similarly. So for this one, I'm going to get some content on the screen because right now we just have, just the header with our menu and our logo, which is, we're getting there, but we want to see what's in the design exactly. So it means this heading, some filler text for now, these buttons, as well as this image. So let's get that going. All right, so let's add the content for now. I'm going to pull my screen over this way. Going to close this tab and we'll work side by side. I have a pretty large monitor if you haven't figured out by now, so if that's making this harder to view, I'm sorry, but it's what I got, so I hope it works out. So let's add the same text for now. So right there, it's what makes you smile. And for now, I'll just do the same with this content, just to kind of keep our design in sync. Our primary button text will be this, so we'll say watch video. The link, we're going to put a hash for now because that's actually going to, basically, I'm thinking for the video, it's going to be an overlay. So that's actually going to be something that's fixed on top of all the content. So we'll get to that. Right now, we don't have a video in mind, but it is a feature or enhancement that we're working on. So we'll do the same for the secondary button. Eventually this will link to some sort of my ID down the page that we give a content area. I'm gonna wait to add that until we have gone down the page more. It should be good. So let's update that. This stuff was updated to save some screen space. I'm gonna get rid of some of these things that aren't really important. Cool. All right, so as you can guess, nothing's on our screen yet over here. To get those to come back to us, we actually need to create some variables inside of our PHP file here. Typically what you can do with advanced custom fields, just to display a basic value, you can do the field, like PHP, the field, and then its ID, which is you can find in the field group section here. So the actual name right here is what that pertains to. So you could enter it this way and it should display. What I don't typically do is that method, just because this doesn't really test to see if that value is present or not. With PHP you can do that. It certainly means more keystrokes and more code, but it's just kind of a way to get more out of a value. For instance, here I'll just dive right in. I have a snippet kind of handy for these since I use it so much. So if I just put I need to be in PHP first. So let's add our variables up here. We'll call this get field. So I use the get field call for the variable. We still need to echo it out for advanced custom fields. If you were to use the field, that does both. So you don't need to write like echo like you would with get. I'm just so accustomed to using get that I just prefer it. It means writing more, but I'm okay with that. So typically when I name my variables, I name them verbatim of what I named them before. So it just makes it easier to remember. So my snippet's pretty handy because I can tab to the next area. I think I talked about this in an earlier video, but essentially when you create the snippet, you can create placeholders for tabs. So when I write get field and hit tab, the snippet comes about, then I can add and then tab to the next field itself. So it's just very quick and easy. We have to add all these, sadly, to get things to propagate on the theme, but in the end it makes it that much easier for the user to edit their content. So let alone if I had to create these custom fields myself in WordPress, it would be, you know, like 3 times the amount of work what we're currently doing. So the plugin certainly helps with this. Let's add the last one. We might go back and get rid of these links on some of these. I can add these hard-coded. I'm not sure yet, but I think we'll find out once we start adding content and getting things more finalized. So we have our variables. To get these to print, we need to actually call them within the theme itself. Our design calls for a heading here, our body content here, and it looks like it's like subdivided in the middle, so it looks like a column of 6 or so. So with that in mind, we'll add a new row below our header, and inside this we'll do a column. Well, we'll call it something unique first. Or no, let's do call means 6. So MD corresponds to medium screens. You can use LG for large and SM for small. With that in mind, I should go back and probably put like call XL or XS12. That means it'll span full width on mobile screens. I'll show you how that works in a second. It's that much CSS you don't have to write customly, if that's a word. So this will do the same. And inside this, we will have our, since we're on our home page, this is going to be our H1. So let's do like an H3 or H2. We'll just do H2. And we'll give this a class of landing page title, or heading, I think we called it everywhere else. And to print out that, remember our variable up here is this. Sublime's pretty nifty, at least in my setup, that we can do echo, what did I say, landing page. So it'll kind of look for it. I could just do this. Something I like to do, I mean, it's not 100% necessary if you already know the content's going to be there, but if you don't know the end user or don't trust them, you can do a if statement before all of this and then enter that same variable. Do a colon here, and then after you echo it like we just did there, you'll want to make sure you end the if statement. In PHP it's like this. So if all is said and well, that should render. There we go. But just to show you by example, if we were to edit this page and I took out this, it's empty field, and I saved it, I go back to the page, it doesn't render at all. That's the beauty of that if statement. So you can see we have that extra row, but there's nothing in there. So if we really were to get fancy, we could do a big if and this whole thing wouldn't render, but I'm almost 100% certain there'll be content there. I'm gonna leave it for now. So that said, to clean the code up, I'm gonna get rid of the if statement. If you're unsure on your end if someone's going to enter text or not, you could do one of two things, or two things basically. When you do assign the custom field, you can make sure it's in a required field from the interface. To do that, you just go to required and hit that checkbox. Or if you don't want to deal with that, you just do the if statement like I was showing you just now. So both work. I don't know which one you prefer. I think it boils down to preference, but anyway, we have that now. let's add the paragraph below it. I think I'll just do a P class of landing page lead text. I'm going to make this title, since that's title and the variable, just to be consistent. And then this is lead text too, so we'll do the same thing here. PHP echo landing page lead text, end it. Should come out. Cool. And then we need our buttons, so let's do like a div class button group, and then we'll do a couple of links. Could probably do emit, use emit for that, but we'll write it. Here we have class button, button primary, and then we'll do watch. Well, this will be that button text, so we can echo primary button text. So landing page, that, and for now we'll do echo primary landing page primary button link. Secondary should be primary. Closer tag. Okay, so that's the first link. We should maybe do, just in case, if landing page primary buttons, we'll just say text, because if there's no text there shouldn't be a button. We'll end that. This looks like a bunch of code, I know, and it's kind of nasty, but realistically it's just printing those values from our custom field form on the back end to these. To save some time, I can just copy and paste this, do the same. Only difference is we will change primary to secondary. Cool. This should actually be a hyphen. All right, cool. So that gives us our values. Of course, they don't look like our design, which is needs to look like this. Let me get the cursor. Needs to look like that. So to do that, let's go ahead and add our global button variables. I think I discussed that in the last video of adding that. So I'm going to do first, I'm going to create a partial under our SAS folder that is buttons, SCSS, and that will have a global button class, and then another that's a button primary, button secondary, and a utility. So the main button, if we can get it pretty dang close, looks like it has a border radius. 2 pixels. So first let's do a font family, body, font weight, bold, font size. I'm just gonna hard code these rem units. I think 1 should be sufficient. Some people use line height or padding or actual heights for buttons. I'm gonna do kind of a hybrid approach, which is a height. We'll actually hard code a height just to keep that consistent, and then add some padding on the sides. The height in this case is 42 pixels, And then we'll do the same with the line height, 42 pixels. Color will be, we should probably make this a variable. Let's go to our variables. Secondary font color. Primary font color should be white, I think. And then utility font color will be, what will it be? Seven. Cool. So then we won't actually make our color on the button. We'll do that on each button class. So this will be primary font color, secondary and utility font color. Background color will be different for each one, so we'll do background color of primary color. What did I call it? Color? Variables. Yeah. Do the secondary here. So the secondary is going to be our yellow. Primary is the blue, which you may think at this and look, well, why is that? But I kind of mix and match all throughout, so I don't think it's a big deal. So this will be utility color. And then I already know there's going to be some padding needed. I just need to visualize it first. I don't think these have any classes yet, so we need to add that. So our primary button needs a class. It does have the class, okay. What we haven't done is include our button. There we go. So it's sorted there. I don't think we need a font weight of bold either. So let's go back to that. Yeah, let's get rid of this. There we go. So height doesn't appear to be working. What is that about? Oh, it needs to be display inline block since it's a link element. I just killed their server. Let's try that again. There we go. So now we have our height. By default, a tag is not a block level element. It's this inline element, which makes sense. So to do that, we create an inline block. If we were to do block, they would go super long across the page, which we don't want. So let's do padding. I'm gonna keep nothing, I think, on the top and bottom, and then on the right we'll do like offset 20 or something. Then we'll do border radius 2 pixels. And I think anymore you don't need to do vendor prefixes for border radius, but since I installed auto prefixer in our gulp file, which is right here, and it runs through the last 2 versions of the browser support for all the major browsers and adds that stuff for us, so that's pretty handy. For grins, I'm going to add some margin, just some top and bottom margin. And actually, how about we'll do that. We'll make that smaller, 5, and on the right we will add offset 10. So what's that look like compared to here? That's about right. Yeah, cool. One thing we can do on the hover states or focus, same kind of difference. In SAS, you can write it like this. You do the and colon hover and focus instead of the old way. To make this a bit different on background color, we'll do primary color or hover color, I think. We'll do the same below. Make this secondary. So yeah, there we go. Now to make that kind of more a nicer transition, hence the transition property, we actually added a mix-in before that does all this auto prefixer stuff for us. I don't necessarily have to use that, but since it's there, I might. So I include transition ease, I think is the default 0.3 seconds, and then background color, which is all we really want to transition. I don't think that's right though. Oh, it needs to be seconds, ease 0.3 seconds. There we go. So it's a little gradual in this case. One problem I already see is I assigned the wrong primary and secondary. So let's do secondary here and utility here. I can't spell. There we go. Cool. For our primary link, you'll notice in the design we have an icon. I think what we'll do is add that. To add that, I'm going to go to our assets folder I had earlier, right here. And I have to find that thing. Video. There we go. It looks kind of skewed, so we'll see if we can use it or not. Yeah, use the data image. So, or base 64 image, which doesn't make any sense. So that's kind of weird. I do know that I have that icon here somewhere, right here. So let's do show in Finder. Yep. And I'm gonna pull it into Sublime Text. I'm gonna grab that code, just copy it. We could do the same thing with the PHP include like we did the logo, but I don't know that it's that big a deal on this one. Maybe we'll just add it beforehand, clean it up a bit. Definitely don't really need ID, nor this, or this. Should be good enough, unless I'm missing something. So by default that's 20 by 20, thinking we can scale it. Yeah, that's huge. Let's add an ID back, play icon. And we'll target that with CSS. So in our header inside of our landing page, this file, let's target the, is that the end of that one? Yeah. So let's target this whole block. Maybe we should call it something easier. Let's do that. So in this, I'm going to add one more div to make this globally kind of recognized landing page intro, maybe. I just have to figure out where to close it. Or is it closed? Yeah, okay. I had an extra closing div. Did not need. Okay. Whoops. Let's indent this a bit. Cool. And from there, we'll target everything kind of within this div. So we have our landing page intro. We have our landing page title. I like to go about it this way when I start styling, kind of list everything out and then hit each one by one. And then we have our button group. I don't know that I even need that. Yeah, let's just use let's just do that. Oops. Okay, so that's our SVG right there. Referring back to our design, that one in particular is 20 by 20. So if we do with 20 pixels height, 20 pixels, I think it should scale back. Yep. Then one thing we need to do is adjust the fill to be that brown, which I think is the font color, so secondary font color. Cool. And obviously it's not quite aligned with the rest of our buttons, so maybe we can do position relative and like top of 5 pixels. Just to shift it down. That's too much. 4, 3, 4. And let's add some padding to the right of like tiny amount just to get some breathing room. I think we're still a little too far down. 3 pixels. That looks pretty good. Cool. All right, so continuing on, we can go ahead and add the styles for our title. By default, it's taking a basic default for the sizes. I need to go back to our style guide to refer to the actual sizes. Let's do that in our base style. We can do H1 is font size. I'll do pixels for now. I don't like to do that, but we'll see. Line height 42. H2. This is like a H3. Now we'll make that H2. So these, according to the design here, it's 32 over 32. That might not look as great on the design as it does on the screen, but we'll find out before long. H3, I think I'll just go down 10 more. And then our H4 will be maybe an alternate style, which is this guy. So we have 22. So it's very similar to our H3 in size. Line height 22 pixels. Text transform uppercase. And it looks like it's our primary color. So color is primary color. Or primary font color is what we should say. No, it's the primary color. Our primary font color for the button is white. Okay, so there's some basic stylings for the headings. I'd like to convert that to rem. I don't know the actual calculation. Maybe if we could do like pixels to rem. We could certainly do m. So if we throw in 42, what does that equal? 2.26. I don't know why it's doing inches. So let's do m. Same for the line height. 32. It's 2m. Uh, 22. It's 1.375. 1.375 m. So that'll be actually the same down below. And we already declared each of our headings to have our heading variable, which is this Alio regular font, which is one we used for Font Awesome, which is included as an at font face. Okay, so there's a huge, I think the size is about right. What we need to do is make sure the line height's pretty accurate too. Might have to adjust that. I'm gonna take those off for now. Cool. Okay. So from here, let me close some of this stuff. We're gonna go back into our landing header. We've got our title. I already know this needs to be white. And it's kind of presenting itself weird. I don't know if there's a different weight we can use. It's a little iffy. One thing I noticed in our header, our button's actually using the wrong class right here. So let's add that real quick before I forget. It's kind of hard to forget, I know, but I think that's in the file itself. So we'll go to header landing, go up to, it's not, it's actually in the menu. So let's add that. Should be try, should be secondary. Awesome. Okay. Not sure why it's using, oh, it's because I called the color white. Maybe if we do that, those will turn wrong. Okay, how am I gonna do this? Let me do that back, but do and not button. I don't know if you can even do this. Color those button or secondary font color. That didn't work. What if we just did that? Should work. Nope. Button secondary. What am I missing? I want these white. I want this brown. Oh, it's because it's the LI. Got it. So let's pull this up here. And then we'll do and button a color secondary font color. Boom. Got it. Awesome. Okay, so we're getting there. Let's also make our lead text white. In fact, I can probably do this to just save some code once it gets compiled. The H2 has some default margin, which doesn't look bad. Go back to our design. I want to make sure that that is the right size. What do we have it as? 42. Okay, yeah. And I'm going to decrease the margin though, just a touch. So margin. This should reset it. Yeah, it's a little tighter. Cool. The text itself is rendering kind of bold. I know that's just a way they render in the web, but we can adjust that. Some people don't like that. It's the anti-alias kind of property. I'll leave it out for now, but I think I'm gonna have to add it back in to kind of match the design a little bit better. Because I'd like to use bold on this, but it looks way too bold. So without it, I'm gonna have to add it. Okay, so let's see what the height of this guy is. Min height, we'll add 700 pixels for the height of that. Let's just add that to the top. 700 pixels. Okay, and then, or maybe we should do the height of this side, which is what? Easier said than done here. Let's draw a shape for that height. Make it a different color. So it's about 490 pixels. So let's add that as the property. We should just have a flat background, right? Yeah. So there's a few ways we could go about getting this slant thing going. The one I know of that will work, and it's just CSS, is using pseudo elements. So essentially at this point we would do like an and after and declare no content, and it will be, well, first we need to make this position relative. And then this one will be absolutely positioned to that. I know there's an article about border. I just have to figure out which border I need. Like there's a border. The way it works is using massive borders. So I think CSS triangles is one I always remember. And of course it's CSS tricks. So if we do an arrow up, arrow down, what's the closest one? The closest one is this one. So arrow right is this. So we'll do something like so. Oops. Only we want our color to be primary color. And this won't be anywhere near what we want, but I'm trying to get something going here. That's not what I want. So we'll do bottom 0, left 0, maybe. Huh. helps if you spell right. Position. Okay, cool. So we actually need it to be quite a bit off the bottom. Oh, other way, Andy. Okay, that's too far, of course. I don't know. I'm throwing stuff here. So we want the border bottom, I think, to be 0. We want that back. 60, border top to be 0. Yeah, okay. And the width, 100%. Does that do anything? Apparently not. Okay, so border left. Can this be 100? Like that? And can do that. I don't know if this is a good way to do it though, because yeah, you can't define that. Huh. Because you're playing with fixed widths, and that's not gonna work. Okay. Let me come back to this. I'll have to do some research off camera and figure that out. But for now, I'm going to add our image in. First, make sure we're matching our design pretty closely. I'm going to make this line height, base line height for our lead text. Okay. That's already set. Okay, cool. So we have that. Let's go back to our landing file. I'm going to put some space in between these just to give you guys easier. Make it easier on you guys if you're watching. So we have our column here. That's only half of the container itself. So we can actually add another one. 6 collects, and this one just solely to house this image. Do I need to do that though? I don't think I'm going to, because that'll scale that image down. So I'm going to just do a class of landing page header image, and we'll go ahead and grab that image. There it is. Okay, let's add this to our actual assets folder. Actually, before I do that, I'm gonna throw it through this optimizer for my own benefit. This thing's pretty neat. It just compresses the real image down no matter what kind of format it is, and makes it work and easy. I don't really see much loss in quality ever, so I recommend it. It's free, so why not? It does take a minute though, so while we're doing that, we can go ahead and let's establish the class, the intro. I think it's inside that class. No, it's outside of that. So we'll need to just create a whole new element. What was the class? Landing page header image. Cool. All right, that's done. Let's throw it in here. There we go. Now we can use CSS for this, or we can actually use, we can just inline it. I think I'm gonna inline it. So to do that, we'll do, I of course have a snippet for this. Here we go, style sheet directory. Then we will do assets. And we'll call this, what was the name? Elements. Easy enough. I'm gonna leave width and height off for now. Lemons with water splashes. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. And that should, cool. So it's displaying blocks, so we'll still need to position it, but that's why I have this div around it. I think I'm gonna grab that. Need to figure out the actual width and height here, and it says 857 by 728. So with 857 pixels, height 728 pixels. Cool. I'm going to make sure the container is in the row. I'm going to make it relative to the actual header. So let's go back up to our very header. We have it position relative already, so that's good. So we can do position absolute. And then right 0, top 0. That's kind of where we want it. So here's our real design. It's kind of further in. So maybe we'll do, probably not that far, but we'll see. It's kind of close. I'm just trying to see how much I need to do here. I think it needs to come to the top a bit. I don't know, not by much, but just some. And it's a little too far right. I think that's pretty close. Yeah. Okay. You'll see that the image, unfortunately, is above the navigation here, so we need to fix that. I'm going to actually make the entire nav itself the z index a bit higher. To do that, I kind of need to give it a class. So let's do nav container, and let's throw, yeah, nav row. We'll just do that. And that was on our row inside of our site header, so we can do nav row z index. I mean, we only have to do like maybe 1. Okay, 2. Okay, for this to work, this needs to have a z index, so we'll do z index 0, -1. That's too far. Okay, we'll figure this out. So I want this to be higher. Not higher, but maybe we'll do position relative. There we go. So that needed to be relative to this whole thing. Cool. So that's kind of the start of our header area. We've added these custom elements that are custom fields. And the next time we meet, I'm going to try to figure out how to do this corner or diagonal thing. I think I have an idea that uses a transform property with CSS, but I need to make sure it works basically across more browsers than WebKit or something like that, or Chrome, I should say. One thing I noticed real quick I want to adjust is the site branding is a little too close to the top, so I'm going to do 20. There we go. Maybe a little less. No, I liked it the other way. Cool. All right, so let's stop there. I'm going to do some research and I will get back to this and figure out the rest and keep going from there.